How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you for coming in tonight. Nick Mason live in the studio. Let us start with a track from your solo album, Fictitious Sports. This is my favourite track. This is called Siam, lead vocal by Robert Wyatt. Oh, good evening and welcome to The Rock Show. As I said at the beginning to Sarah, the second hour tonight is The Passions, recorded live at the venue of Victoria some weeks ago. And in this, the first hour, my guest is the man whose name appears on that album, Nick Mason's Fictitious Sports, and that was Siam with Robert Wyatt on lead vocal. Nick, welcome to the studio. Although you and I have talked many times before, I think it's the first time you've ever actually been live in the studio.
This is very possibly true.
Well, it's nice to see you because it's very rare that one of the Floyd ever talks. I mean, you are still very reticent at giving interviews.
Certainly not here to talk tonight, Nicky. I'm just here to listen to the records.
Well, I mean, I know it's mere coincidence that you have a solo album out, but when I heard, to be serious, when I heard that you were planning a solo album and it was being recorded, I was very surprised. I mean, Dave Gilmour has done a solo album, and I know that Roger has planned a solo album for a long time. It's never really come to fruition. And I thought that you and Rick would be the least likely to do a solo album. Why?
Oh, I think for a number of reasons. The main one is that it's educational, almost. It's an opportunity to do something outside Pink Floyd, which I think is important. I mean, it's fun primarily, but secondly, it broadens one's outlook. It's very easy to stay in one band for a very long time and just really turn to stone, just always carry on doing the same thing in the same way. Or even if you think you're changing or you change your patterns, you still get locked into the same sort of way of making music.
Because this is a very different album from, I mean, I think a lot of people would expect, I mean, forgive me, I mean, a poor man's Pink Floyd. But in fact, it's very different from that. And I mean, that's why it's such a pleasing album. But I also, I mean, knowing you over the last few years, that you are, because you do all the business for the Pink Floyd and you sort of run the business side of Pink Floyd Limited Incorporated. I mean, I was very surprised when you decided to go musically venture out. I mean, was it something that you felt that you had to get out of your system? That's the excuse for a lot of solo albums.
No, not something I had to get out of my system, something I wanted to do. I think that sums it up. It's as you're probably aware, solo album is a pretty odd title for it because, of course, it isn't.
Yes, that was the next question.
Oh, terrific.
Because I was
sorry to mess you about.
No, it's all right. But I mean, as far as I mean, it really isn't a solo album in the sense that all songs have been written by Carla Bley. You've got Robert Wyatt and Chris Spedding. I mean, and you are just the drummer on this conglomerate. Well, the drummer and producer of this sort of
dynamo
of this conglomerate album. So in fact, you're working in a new band. So
absolutely, it's certainly not a solo album in the way Dave's is a solo album. I'm not a writer, and it's not sort of my burning ambition to produce a whole bunch of songs. But it is an album of things that I like with people that I like. I think that perhaps is it's a whole new concept in solo album.
Now, tell me something about Carla Bley. Where does she come from? What's her history? Because I don't think a lot of people would know her.
She's an American. She's a keyboard player and a jazz composer primarily. And she's done an enormous amount of work over the last 10 or 15 years. I met her originally through Robert. She's multi-talented, really. I mean, there are various facets that I think make her very interesting to work with, because it's not only the composition and so on, but also her ability to organise. And some of the projects she's done in the past have been absolutely staggering in their enormity, and she's still managed to put them all together.
I mean, is that what attracted you to her?
No, what I particularly liked when we started this were simply the songs. She sent me a cassette of songs that I liked so much, and they seemed so geared to my attitudes, if you like. I liked the sense of humour, and I liked the music.
Well, let's have a listen to another track from Fictitious Sports. This is Boo to You Too. From Fictitious Sports, Nick Mason and Boo to You Too. Nick, did you enjoy making this album?
Oh yeah, loved it.
Because I know that when we've talked about previous Floyd albums, I think that some of the work on the Floyd albums has sort of been tortuous.
Tortured or tortuous? Yeah.
Well, tortuous. I mean, you have admitted in the past that, working with the Floyd can be tricky in the studio. But was this actually an enjoyable experience?
Oh, absolutely. Mind you, I mean, Pink Floyd records take so long to make. It's inevitable that somewhere along the line it's all going to be dreadful, and somewhere else it's going to be good fun. But this was solid enjoyment.
Was this recorded as you record a Floyd album, layer upon layer upon layer, taking a long time? Or was this, it sounds as if it was done very spontaneously.
Yes, I mean, it was a unique recording experience in so much as all the musicians were in the studio at once.
Yes, I must say to you that I heard a story that you went to see the Rolling Stones record.
Oh, yes.
I must tell you this, listener. He said, Nick went to see the Rolling Stones record, and they were all in the studio at the same time. Tell me if this is wrong, but I heard this
So
little
far,
bit
roughly
of
correct.
And they're all in the studio at the same time. And apparently you said to Mick Jagger when they came out of the studio, "Oh, I see that you record in the old-fashioned way, all of you in the studio at the same time," which I believe made Mr. Jagger a little peeved.
I think it's most unlikely I'd be that undiplomatic, actually.
Was this?
But no, I think this was probably a conversation I had afterwards with one of them, which was sort of roughly based on the fact I wouldn't be in your band for anything in the world, which we both said to each other. Neither of us could believe the other would work quite like that.
For them to record all together, and for you...
Listen, I'm not opposed to people being in the studio at once. I mean,
recording as a band, as opposed to recording as four separate individuals.
Apparently, it's a fairly common way of working and reasonably successful.
This is true. Nick, if I might turn away just for a little time from your solo album, because it's so rare to have a Floyd in the studio.
Turn away, Nicky, turn away.
If I might talk about the Pink Floyd. Some time ago, there were lots of stories going around that the Pink Floyd had broken up. In fact, I'd heard that after the last tour from some people who are sort of fairly close to Pink Floyd, that the Floyd would, although I can't believe this is true.
Sources close to the band usually turn out to be their pet rabbit.
No, this source was someone who was very close to you and who works with you all the time, who said that the Floyd...
I'll find them, I'll track them down.
Let me finish. That the Floyd would never record again together as a band and never tour again. Then the Norton Warburg thing blew up, where the Floyd lost thousands, millions of pounds, yen, or whatever currency you happen to have it in at the time. And we then hear that the band are making a film of The Wall, going back on the road again. Is there any truth in the fact that the Floyd had broken up after the last tour, or were there? I mean, what led to those rumours? Because they were very strong.
This is not true.
Not true at all.
No.
Was there any dissension in the ranks after the last tour?
When was the last tour, for God's sake?
Well, last time you did England.
Oh, I can't even remember when that was. There's always dissension in the ranks. I mean, it's really quite difficult being in a band for a very long time. I mean, it's bad enough being in a band for a short time. And as you go on living with people, they get more and more impossible. I mean, it's just, there's always quite a lot of general fighting going on. And this seems true of all bands. I think that's all I can say, really.
I mean, when I said, or when it was announced that the Floyd were going to be doing some gigs again in London, I mean, the quote from a load of people was, "Oh, well, they need the money."
They need the money,
yes, because you lost all of it.
We all decided to go get steady jobs.
Tell me a little bit about, I mean, as much as you can legally, about what happened with Norton Warburg.
Oh, I really don't think we can get into that one. I just think.
I mean, I realise that there are certain areas that are subject to say.
I wouldn't know what the areas are, and I think.
But suffice to
But
say,
all I could say really is that it's really fairly ancient history now. It's just hitting the headlines now but it all happened
but
2 or 3 years
is
ago.
it fair to say that the band and the people that surround the band lost a great deal of money?
I think we could go so far as to say that. But this was, let us say, it was pre-war. So I think we've recouped a couple of bob here and there.
I mean, were you surprised about the success of the Wall?
Yes. Appalling record. Can't understand why anyone bought it.
Come on. And did you feel that it was better than Animals?
Yes, a lot better than Animals. I mean, it really hung together as a complete piece. I mean, it was a terrific idea, and I think I was very pleased with the way it was finally executed. All I was going to say was no one can, or I think people can never imagine that an album will take off to that extent. I mean, it's like Dark Side of the Moon, which was astonishing, but I never felt that was sort of 20 times better than the album before.
But then on the other hand, The Wall was very different in the sense that it's very much Roger's album, as opposed to a band album, which, I mean, a lot of the albums obviously have had the emphasis of Roger Waters in them to varying or lesser degrees, but it would seem that The Wall is obviously Roger's thing. I mean, it's very much Roger's thing.
Yeah.
So how did you feel being part of that?
Oh, fine, great. I mean, Roger presented the thing more or less in a complete form, and I think we all really liked the idea. Felt, I mean, obviously it's difficult working on something if you're not sympathetic to it, and I just thought the whole thing was terrific, and it was, of course, there are things that I've done on other albums that I didn't do on this, but at least I'm really happy with the contribution that I did make to this. I think particularly the drums are much tighter, they sound much better, the playing is better than they've ever been on any previous album.
Because The Wall was not a new idea, was it? It's been around for a long time in Roger's head. I mean, it surfaced in different ways prior to this. Was it an easy album to record? Why do you laugh?
Well, it's the idea of easy albums to record.
Well, some tracks are easier than others.
Yes, true, but we find making records unbelievably difficult.
Why?
Because to get them right just seems very difficult. It's as simple as that. I think there are perhaps a few technical problems that. Let me have a think about this. I think one thing is that because the albums are very sort of carefully put together, and because as we've gone on, the overlays have got more and more elaborate and more complicated, the basis of the thing has to be absolutely perfect to make all the overlays work. And particularly with The Wall, we spent an awful lot of time working out the ways to record the bases of the tracks in order to make the building on it easy, or easier than it would otherwise be. I mean, we've quite often got halfway through and Dave's got stuck into putting the guitars on, and then found there's a problem that hasn't revealed itself until then. We've had to go back and start again.
Well, the track that I'm going to play to take us up to the 9 o'clock news is Run Like Hell. Do you remember recording that, and what was that like?
No.
Fine, well, let's play it then.
I can't remember.
Do you remember recording that now?
Just about. But there were an awful lot of tracks and an awful lot of time spent in studios recording.
Well, there are a lot of things that didn't appear on the album.
No, I think nearly everything. There was various bits and pieces were cut at the sort of last minute, trying to tighten it all up. But nearly everything, I think more or less everything.
How long did it take to record in the end, from beginning, day one?
I couldn't really tell you. I mean, Roger had obviously spent an awful lot of time preparing the thing, and then we started recording in France. I should think year and a half.
Okay. Tonight is Nick Mason of the Pink Floyd. You wanted to say a little bit more about the recording of the wall, because I asked how long it
Yes.
took.
Well, it was just when you asked how long it took, I was just going to say it's very hard to quantify it exactly because at some points we were actually operating 2 or 3 studios at once to try and get it finished. And Dave would be hammering away in one place and Roger hammering away somewhere else.
I mean, one of the criticisms that I heard about the wall, and we'll leave the wall here and go back to the solo album in just a moment, in case you're wondering about that. But one of the criticisms of the wall, in fact, indeed, of the Pink Floyd, is that the music is very
How can you put it kindly?
computerized, no soul. I mean, if you're all recording in 3 separate studios and you've got Roger in one, sort of doing the guitar overlays, and you in another doing some drum bits. Surely it must be incredibly difficult to try and get any sort of cohesive band sound to it.
Oh, it's a
I mean, to
very,
feel
very,
part of.
it's a very
feel part of
sensitive
it.
and romantic computer that we use to provide all the ideas.
Come on.
No,
It must be
What-
difficult actually feeling as if you're producing something together.
but that's not necessarily the object of the exercise. In fact, it's surprising how good things can be and how it can improve things for everyone to be allowed to work at their own speed and own time to get something right. Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes in the case of backing tracks, they do require a group feel to them, in which case we'll do it that way. But quite often, more than that, they want precision. And sometimes the best way of getting the best performance from each individual is to let them do it separately. It sounds unlikely in a way, but certainly you can get really terrific performances with just the relevant people there at the time. I mean, I certainly did quite a lot of backing tracks with Dave, and Dave designed a marvelous sort of system. He'd more or less make a mini record that would work from. Oh, Thames
right.
pop star chokes to death.
I haven't really got him round the throat.
Dave would design these things, and then the whole thing would flow from that, and we could work out exactly what the pattern should be. So you could. Well, there are different attitudes to how music should be made, but you can put feel into music without having a load of long-haired idiots all around you jogging about.
Well, I think that one of the things that comes across in the solo album, that there is a warmth in that album that is not present in the Floyd albums. I mean, not to say that the Floyd albums are not good, but there is a warmth.
Do be careful.
There is a warmth in the solo album that is not present in, say, The Wall. I mean, do you feel this?
To The Wall, that the whole thing operates as a complete piece. Whereas the solo album is more to do with songs being played properly by a band.
Well, let's have a listen to a track now. Nick Mason is my special guest tonight, live in the studio. And we're playing tracks. I have to keep saying that in case, people just
they
tune
think
in.
I'm just a big computer.
Just Nick Mason, yeah. We'll go back to the solo album in just a moment, but there's so much that I want to talk to you about. And in fact, we've just agreed that Nick is going to come back at some time after the Floyd concerts, and we'll have a confrontation with a band member, someone who is the antithesis of the Pink Floyd, which could be quite fun. So we'll do that after the Floyd concerts. Are you looking forward to going back on the road? He said, just throwing that one in.
Yes, but it's a marvellous idea of being on the road, because it will be one hell of a trip all the way from North London over to Earl's Court and back. But I think we'll probably have a big coach and some...
Playing live, I meant.
I see, yes. I love it, yeah. Terrific.
Do you really enjoy going out in front of 80,000 or however many it is? Do you enjoy that process as much as going into a studio, just you and the engineer? Because you're a very private man.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I love it. I mean, for me, that's one of the great rewards, really, is putting on shows. I really prefer that to recording.
I mean, let us forget about the technical aspect of the wall. I mean, which in itself was incredible. The way that things all happened. Oh, except when I was there, the wall fell down before it should have done. But I mean, that's beside the point. But yes, I know you fired the roadie. But let us leave the technical aspect aside and just the aspect of playing live, because I know that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that I know that one of the ambitions of Roger was, I mean, to play behind the wall. Anyway, that's long been an ambition of his, to play live on stage behind a wall. And I know there were various plans about taking the Pink Floyd on the road, but the Pink Floyd wouldn't actually play. Now, is that true to begin with?
I'm not quite sure I followed that. What, that we would be there or we wouldn't be
You
there?
wouldn't be there. I mean,
Oh yes, it's certainly
four
been
members.
something we've discussed before, and it's still something that I think is an interesting idea, which is to devise a show that's really not a rock and roll show about the performers, but it's about something else.
Now, you've already gone sort of halfway there with the surrogate band who come on at the beginning.
Oh, don't give everything away, Nicky.
Well, people have seen the show. But I mean, that you're sort of halfway there with the surrogate band,
Yeah.
and then suddenly Pink Floyd arrive in a mound of dry ice, or whatever.
No. You're confusing us with someone else.
I'm sorry. I mean, why do you think that idea is appealing to Roger? I know that it's difficult to answer on Roger's behalf, but why do you think that idea is appealing to actually go on the road and do shows where the Floyd don't appear?
Well, the answer is I mean, it's like saying it's like making a film. You devise something that you think is entertaining or interesting or whatever, and you want to put it on. And there are two things. One is performing something, which is a very rewarding experience, which is one of the pleasures. You know, it's nice just to play the drums and perform. And the other thing is, it's nice to put on a show, to do something that you feel is worthwhile or interesting or groovy or whatever.
Groovy?
Did I say groovy? Sorry, I meant hep. It's not.
Groovy.
There's a lot of pleasure in doing that as well.
I mean, I must say that I really did enjoy the technical expertise of the show, but did find it, a little cold. I mean, it's not like a rock and roll show where you actually stand on your seat and go.
Absolutely, it's not like that at all.
But this is exactly what the Floyd are aiming at, which is why you come in for a great deal of criticism.
I do feel that it would be quite a nice thing if people conceded that there isn't necessarily a right or a wrong way to perform or do rock and roll, that there are various different versions that are acceptable. I mean, we certainly tackle it in a different way to innumerable other bands, but I don't think ours is necessarily a wrong way, and we should be punished for it, he said.
No, I know that this criticism comes up a great deal, and you will defend it to the hilt, as I know you've done for years. But do you actually think that you are close to, or as close as you can be, to the people who actually buy your records? In the sense that the Floyd have always been a very private band. You very rarely give interviews. You very rarely do the kind of things that other rock and roll bands do. You've always preserved this mystique around you.
Do you think that the sort of things that other rock and roll bands do make them closer to their audience? I'm not quite sure what you have in mind.
I think it may give the illusion to the audience that they're closer to them, yes.
Well, illusion or... No.
Well, at least perhaps they... No, I mean, at least perhaps they try. I mean, the Floyd always preserve this mystique. And in fact...
it's so disappointing. Supposing they really met us.
But you do... Is it true to say that the band go out of their way to preserve and, in fact, exaggerate this mystique about them?
I don't think so.
Between themselves and their audience, the millions who buy your records?
No, I really don't think that we try and exaggerate the mystique. I would have said that certainly when we started, we had no intention of being so unknown. When I went into the rock and roll business, I wanted to be a real pop star. But things just didn't work out, Nicky.
And now, what are your ambitions now?
I'd like to be a famous racing driver next, please.
Famous racing driver, because you do a bit of racing, don't you?
Yes, a bit.
And your manager seems to beat you, and you beat him occasionally. So it's
Yes, he did rather better than me at the weekend.
Now, of course, one of the great races that you like to play at is is Le Mans, and it's going to be a bit tricky this year, isn't it?
Yes, unfortunately, it seems to coincide with the concerts at Earl's Court, and there have been discussions about all sorts of elaborate and expensive ways of doing both, but I think it's really not on. I think I really couldn't bear to send Roger out there to address the crowd and say, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, the bad news, there's no show, but the good news is the drummer's lying third.
I really think Robert Wyatt's voice on it is just amazing. I mean, it's nice that, you have actually put him on, because we played that single, Starling Was Stalling. We played that lots, and it didn't really do anything. I mean, do you actually feel in a way that the fact that, these people have appeared on your album, the fact that you, of the Pink Floyd, obviously sell a lot of albums, that you can, I mean, is there a certain amount of, how shall I say, altruism in this? Not altruism. Do you see that they are your protégés, if you like?
I think protégés is sort of too strong a word. I think they stand in their own right.
Yeah, but the fact that you can actually give them that, commercial kick up the backside.
Well, if it did that, that'd be terrific.
Well, a nice, lovely album, and we'll be playing more of it on the Rock Show. It's 9:25. I want to play one more track from the Pink Floyd. A question that I wanted to ask you. Yeah,
this could be tricky.
No, I remember when you and I did the Pink Floyd story, and we talked long and hard about Pink Floyd, that you were saying that "Wish You Were Here," that the title track of that album actually applied to you in a great sense of the way that you appeared on that album, because you weren't really into that album, right?
Yeah. Yes, or rather no.
Typical, yeah.
He said wriggling.
But you did actually say to me that
yes,
"Wish You Were Here" applied to you in the making of that album.
Yes, that's quite true. Yes, I did. But the thing, it wasn't... I think at the time I was just talking about sort of my feelings about life at that time. That as I said, I think I said earlier, the problem with our albums is they encompass a great deal of our lives, if you like, and so it's a whole year. And I suppose perhaps that was a year I didn't particularly have as much fun as I did in other years.
Finally, are you, as we approach the break before the Passions concert, are you in any way getting a bit miffed that you have to keep recording songs where there is supreme paranoia in the lyrics? I mean, a lot of Roger's songs have paranoia in them. That's what Dark Side of the Moon was about. And a lot of The Wall is, great paranoia, waiting for the worms, run like... I mean, the whole thing is paranoia.
No, I'm not miffed by that.
Miffed was the wrong word, but you know what I mean.
No, I think it's... I like putting those records together, and I'm sympathetic to those ideas. If I want to make... and I do have the opportunity outside the band to make more cheerful records. This album actually is quite a good example of that.
Absolutely.
It's quite a humorous little album, really. But it's not a criticism of what we do with the Floyd. It's something else.
But doesn't the point come when Roger presents the songs to you, and we really should have Roger here talking about it, but doesn't the point come when you actually say, oh, not another song about death and destruction and, my brain hurts?
Can't you write something cheerful, Squire?
Yes. I mean, when was the last time the Floyd performed a love song? I don't remember you performing ever performing a love song, or anything that was sweetness and light.
That's soppy, isn't it? Like soppy stuff, we don't do that. Very butch band. I can't really answer. I mean, Roger, if he writes the songs, if someone came up with a love song that we would prefer to record to one of Roger's, would
You
probably do it. But as yet, I think his songs are much more interesting.
Well, Nick, we have 30 seconds before we have to take the break when we go into the passions so that everything knits together towards the news. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
I wish you much luck with Fictitious Sports. And will you come in again after the Floyd concerts and we can have this sort of confrontation? Well, not confrontation, discussion.
Discussion, yes.
Will you do that?
That'd be interesting.
Okay, we have that on tape. Nick, thank you very much indeed. And good luck with the concerts. I shall look forward to seeing them.